Andre, what makes you feel the most vulnerable?
I'm going to go with today asking for help. I think that being a creative director and a clairvoyant, you're always the one of service. So it's always vulnerable to actually be the one receiving. So that's kind of vulnerable.
That's perfect.
Okay.
How's your day been? We've been shooting and talking so much.
I know, yeah. So sometimes we'll film 2 guests in one day. We'll start at like 9 with one, and then we'll do a noon with another. But it's never too much.
Okay,
I don't
good.
think.
No, I could still go.
I can be a little bit like challenged to do something afterwards. Like tonight, I'm
Yeah.
going to go have dinner with a friend, and like sometimes I would be a little nervous to do that just because, like, I don't know, it might be like I might be too drained.
Yeah.
But I feel good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love
feel
that
it.
we have the day tomorrow to take a break. I know
Yes.
we're both working, doing other stuff, but like
Gosh, yeah.
and then we'll come back the day after and interview again because
Yeah.
I just feel like we're better versions of ourselves when it's a little bit more spread out.
Oh, definitely.
Like I don't think I'd ever want to do 3 in a day
yeah, it might be a bit much.
unless like it was like we had no other option.
Yeah.
We really needed that.
No,
guest
it's a
or
great
something.
like
Yeah.
endpoint right now when it's 2:30 because I'm also like, okay, I can run in and do a bunch of work. I have so many calls. I have so many things going on.
I know.
So
You
that's
all
good.
like the amount that Natasha has on her plate. Like I come in here at 7:30 to get ready here so I can skip traffic and we'll start filming at 9. So I come like early so I have some cushion. She's been up since like 5 on calls all over the world internationally, putting out fires, like sending voice notes to like multiple people that work for her, and I'm just like constantly in awe of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that because I also, by the way, feel like I'm not doing enough. Like, am I
my
not doing
gosh,
enough?
no.
Am I not doing it? But yes.
Absolutely not. You are
you.
like doing more than the average person has the capacity for.
Thank you.
Not even the average, like the above average person. Anyways, we're super excited for today's episode because dear friend Andre is coming on, and honestly, he's another one since the beginning of kind of the fruition of this podcast. I've been like, he has to be a guest because he's literally our 2 worlds collided. He's a creative director for a lot of beauty brands, a lot of fashion brands, has like years and years of experience under his belt in that realm as a creative. But then he is also a clairvoyant, and he's been saying, I think he said today he's been doing it for about 12 years.
12 years, yeah.
And he's one of the people that when I started to explore what clairvoyance was for me and tried to learn about it, our mutual friend Kayla set us up for like a dinner date just out of the kindness of both of their hearts. And he was like, absolutely, yes. Met me for dinner, took the time to sit down, share his story, share his vulnerability, share his experiences, and it helped me so much. And so much of what he shared and told me is still stuck with me. And this conversation has been so overdue because like he and I haven't really gotten to like properly catch up. So this kind of was the catch up.
Yeah.
And I had so many kind of follow-up questions, as you'll see in the episode. Like I'm just like digging for information.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting to hear his experience kind of from being a kid until now. Like we got the full view.
Yeah. And it was really exciting for me to watch both of you kind of communicate because you could see that there was like a mutual understanding of what you guys have and what kind of powers you have. Can you say powers?
I don't know.
Is that okay? Is that weird?
Whatever you want to say, but
I have powers. We all have powers.
yeah.
So it's a power.
Yes.
Or
abilities,
a forte,
gifts,
an ability.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll call it power. More power is my mascara. So
There
if
we
I
go.
could call
We
my
love that.
mascara a power.
It's a damn good mascara at that.
But yeah, so your abilities, your powers, what you could see that, you know, it was almost like he was trying to send you a message. Maybe when you watch it back, and you'll probably see that it was almost like you got to just trust yourself.
Yeah.
I think that was the ongoing message.
For sure.
I don't know if he's consistently been telling you that, but that's what I got from
That's
it. Was
definitely
like,
what I
listen.
took away from it, for sure. Like just asking about, you know, how we both kind of taken a step back from healers and why was it not working for us? Well, it's multi-layered. Like there are red flags with some people. Like like you said, someone who's like, I can help you.
Yes.
You know, the
Yes.
things that we talk about this in that episode, Andre kind of points out some of the flags you want to look for and what feels right, what doesn't, and just trusting yourself. And that's what we're figuring out.
Yeah, it was a really good reminder for me because I really am into this world. I'm not clairvoyant myself, as in like I don't practice working with people or anything like that.
Right.
But I have been helping so many people
my
through
gosh, yeah.
posting on social media about the journey that I've been on with my healers and so
you're
many
incredibly
people.
intuitive.
Yeah, but also not even me helping them directly. It's just connecting them to the healers and people actually being able to grow from that. I get essays from random strangers from around the world like, oh my God, I spoke to Dan. Oh my God, I spoke to Sonal. Oh my God, I spoke to Lorraine. Like whichever healers I speak to, everyone's like, oh, I spoke to this person. I spoke to this person. And this helped them.
Since day one,
Yeah.
I was like, you're a connector.
Yeah, you did.
Which is such an extraordinary gift.
And you're a clairvoyant. You have to say it out loud.
We're figuring out. Yes, we're figuring out what that means for me, which is okay.
Yeah.
One step.
But
at a
anyway,
time.
you guys are really going to enjoy this episode, I'm
also,
sure.
What a trip that I wore my AP halter
I
bralette
know.
today. When like I completely forgot that he had the background experience and like the lingerie and like that field as well.
Yeah.
Like just
Like and lace and black
weird
and the
little
color.
synchronicity.
Yeah.
Like, or like I don't know.
Yeah.
But this was
And the burlesque and the, you know.
Yeah. I mean, if past lives are truly a thing, maybe we shared one as burlesque dancers. Who knows?
Yeah. So in my past life regression, apparently I was a brothel owner and my ex-husband and my mother were both my children.
Oh my gosh, what a trip.
So maybe I was part of this burlesque thing.
Such a trip. Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
Well, as you can tell, this is an interesting one, very interesting one, and very vulnerable and really special. And I would say, again, we're not trying to convince anyone of anything. What we're trying to do is just hear different perspectives and points of views and learn from people in that way. And I think that's what we got out of this episode.
Yeah, you're so good like that. You always say nice things like that. You're so good.
Because it's important. Like,
It's
I
so
don't want to like.
I know, you're so
I'm
thoughtful,
so adamant
dude.
about like we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
But
like,
you're just so thoughtful, and I'm putting it out there that you're really sending the right message to people, and people will see that and be like, "Oh, I don't feel like I have to follow a path that I don't want to."
And be like, no.
Yeah,
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And we hope you come back because we're going to have different kinds of people on and different kinds of stories on.
yeah,
But I think what's important is just that we respect each individual's journey, and you can always learn something from someone regardless of whether or not you agree. You can learn.
yes,
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
On that note, we're really excited for you
Yeah.
guys to tune in,
Enjoy.
watch, and keep us posted. Share, like, subscribe, keep following us on Instagram. Do
Yeah.
all the things.
And let us know how you're liking it, and we'll see you at the end.
Oh
my
love your
gosh.
rings.
Hell yes.
Oh, signature this up, bitch.
Now,
I love
let's
it.
see what this is about.
Andre, all fancy, shot one.
Oh,
All fun.
All
all
fancy.
fancy.
Cute.
We're fancy.
We just had a British person in here.
Oh my god, I love that for me.
Yeah.
I've been like,
I'm so freaking happy right now.
Oh my gosh, you're
I
gonna
love
be a
that.
cartoon with me.
absolutely.
Oh, I love this.
Trying to fix my tits.
Dude, your rings look
feeling
so
it.
cool.
I know.
I know.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it because like it says play.
Oh.
I feel like we're gonna have fun.
Hell yeah.
And then you can go.
Right,
Actually,
and
let's
it's
start the episode with that.
Pop.
I really like it. So what
Does
does
this become a self-defense?
everything say? What does
podcast?
everything say?
Yeah. Wait. So we're recording?
Always.
Oh,
We
that's
just
fun.
roll
Is
right
this-
into
oh,
it.
that's so fun.
That's your friend.
This is your
Oh my
little friend.
God. Let it do. Yeah, honestly, the only things that are actual physical things, like example, like this is a rose. The rose is a representation of my grandma.
Aww.
I wish this would just like fashion.
Like we need a little tattoo.
Oh, it's
zipper.
gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. It's so pretty. And it's when we were kids, like growing up, my grandma used to take a rose and then she would used to take the petal and then she would lick her hand. I'm not gonna do it. Nasty.
No, show me.
Actually, do we have a rose petal?
I always
She
have
always has
roses.
roses, but
That's
not
okay.
today.
So you would just like basically like lick around your fingers like this in this circle. And then you would put the petal here and then it will pop. And it would pop.
What do you mean it would
It
pop?
would just pop. It would
Wow.
create enough, I guess, like tension. And then you would just pop it.
What do you need?
A rose.
A rose petal.
She's so curious now.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to do this because we love roses.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I love roses so much. And I know, like, you know, in Alice in Wonderland, when it's like white roses and they're painting them red.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I feel like my life is. I'm just like, let's just paint everything.
Oh
So
my
I'm like-
gosh.
I
so the
love
rose just
that.
represents so much. And then this is actually my first tattoo. It says, the brightest flame casts the darkest shadow.
Are we like
Right? In it.
dream without fear, love without limit? Like
If James
I
were
can't say
here.
bitch.
sky
joy.
above, earth below, fire within.
Dead.
You know what? Moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this
Reminders.
one, I'm like looking in the mirror in front of me if anyone's just like, but basically
You're
this
just like
one says
busting
love
out in
and light.
dance. Love and
So just
light.
classic.
Love.
And then this one says breathe, Meraki. And then this one is you are your only limit. So it's like limitlessness.
Is it in
Are
your...
you joking? That's my next tattoo because I just launched a product
This
called
is your
Limitless.
sign. So you know what's so funny? There's just so many synergies that you guys have no idea. Like we can be here for so many hours, but like I used to do creative direction for a brand that was supporting like gold fine jewelry. So I
Okay.
had a dear friend. We were doing fine jewelry and I was supporting this vision. And it was always about like limitlessness and
Wow.
it was about like courage and being authentic, etc. And they were like made out of like gold and diamonds.
Okay.
So I learned a lot about like, you know, casting jewelry, etc. So it was just really fun in that way. But when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like such a blast from the past. And, you know, even in my portfolio, there's a little section there. I'm not sure if like we should say names and stuff, but
Oh, like brand names and
Yeah.
stuff. Totally up to you. I think it
Yeah.
depends on the context. Was it a
I would
pleasant
say-
experience or a bad? No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
that's so funny. I would say all experiences are pleasant.
Fair.
I think that
All
is
serve a
just-
purpose.
Yeah, all serve such a purpose, and it was such a great time in my life. And honestly, it was so profound the work that we were doing. That translated the jewelry translated into what is essentially like an app. So I should preface this by saying like my entire career has really been in the creative direction world.
Yeah.
Has really been about startups and entrepreneurialness. So like I've worked with CEOs hand in hand, really developing their dreams and their goals, but
Wow.
also aligned to like my own, I want to say intentions and purpose. And so I always like wanted to be somebody who was an advocate for the underdog. I consider myself to be the underdog. And so, yeah, that rebellion in me, I was always like, you have a dream, let's do it. And if it was in line with me, I was like, let's do it.
I mean,
Are you kidding me? I'm like, hello. I already loved you from the minute I met you.
I know, right? And then so, yeah. Did I talk about all my tattoos? But that's it.
wait,
Yes,
I wanted
but-
to ask, are all of your tattoos is that your handwriting?
Yeah.
I
so,
fucking love that.
Yeah.
These
That's
ones are
dope.
all my handwriting. This
I
one.
thought so because it all looks like the same font.
Yeah.
It's very similar, absolutely. And, you know, my background is in graphics and, of course, like design.
Wow.
So I was like, let me just play with myself. And these are like the most visible. I haven't decided what I'm going to make not visible, but.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's so cool. Wait, do you have your own font?
Oh my God, yeah, I have my own writing. So it's funny that we were just saying, and I don't know if we were recording in the kitchen, if anybody was there. It's these the two cameras that I look into.
Yes, we've
Anywhere.
got this one directly on you, and then this one's all three of us.
Oh, okay.
And then the hidden camera sometimes, you know,
Got it,
when you go to the
exactly.
bathroom, be careful.
Yeah, it's like I'm doing a dance.
Action.
Oh my gosh.
I'm doing a little dancey dance.
People
but-
would pay for that.
yeah, that's a big bet. But I was saying, so like, you know, you said quotes and stuff. So I actually do have a page and I call it light reading, like LIGHT. And it's like my font or my writing that people like in the creative world or in the industries know that about. It's like very fast paced. It's why I wrote, what is that called? The little
The clapboard.
Oh, the clapper.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I
clapboard.
love that you made your mark basically
Yeah.
through
It
your
needed
writing.
to be yours.
It
I
did.
appreciate
your-
that.
So yeah, so that was it. But yeah, so where should we begin?
Well, I feel like you touched on your creative direction and you weren't sure
Yeah.
like what you wanted to share in relation to like storytelling, but maybe you can tell everyone some of the places that you have done
Absolutely.
creative direction for, what
my gosh, so fun.
worlds, what brands you want to share.
Absolutely.
And then also, obviously, we have to get into your clairvoyance
Yes.
because that's how you and I met.
Absolutely, yeah, we did. We met on that.
You just being
level.
like a sweet baby angel willing to go to dinner with me and share your life story when I was like so lost. And so
That's so
appreciate
sweet.
it.
Yeah,
I
we
love
actually met
this.
through a
Oh, I'm
mutual
sorry.
friend. No, that's just the fairies.
The fairies are calling.
Just the fairies,
How
Sachi.
dare you?
Hi.
It was perfect timing.
Oh, my $1 billion is ready. Oh my God, thank you. I was waiting.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
Cutie.
I was supposed to put it on there, but there's no recording. It's run out. We've recorded an hour-long BTS video.
I know, that's like
Yeah.
not sustainable for the link.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway,
That
sorry.
makes sense. My phone's on vibrate here.
You should be fine.
Should
That's
I-
good.
They might hear
okay.
a little.
That's
They
fine.
might hear
Oh,
a
like,
little
as in,
buzz
like, in the
buzz.
example, I should this is my heart beating. But yeah, so Melinda and I, we connected through our mutual friend Kayla. Shout out to Kayla.
Sweet baby angel.
She's so sweet, and she's just like a romantic at heart. And so it's funny because we worked in a beauty industry together. This beauty brand was based in the Middle East, and so there was an office in California, and so we were on the same team.
Wow.
And so when I saw Kayla, I was like, oh my gosh, like she's great. And so anything that was connected to her, it felt right.
Yeah.
And so Melinda was connected to Kayla. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I've always wanted to be the advocate for this isn't, yes, like we're different and that's super vulnerable. But at the same time, like I didn't ever want it to be something that we were afraid to express, that we can be in the careers that we are as professional beings that are having fun, like we're playing and we're, doing the creative work because we're all creatives.
Yeah.
And then with the clairvoyance, it just goes hand in hand a lot of the time for me. So it was so profound to like meet somebody as well. Like, Kayla was like, referencing Melinda for herself, but I think it was such a mutual connection for me too, because you were also in the beauty space.
Yeah, we had a lot of parallels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And you were doing some like work. You were doing the work.
Yeah, definitely. Like that was towards the beginning of kind of just learning about what clairvoyance was and understanding what it meant, the difference between psychic work and mediumship, and learning how to clear out your energy and learning about what it means to read people. And look, I'm still learning all of that. I am still figuring out what it means to me. A lot of people recently have been like, so like, where are you at with all of that? Are you reading people? And I'm like, right now, I'm letting everything that I've taken in digest, and I'm letting the universe point me in the direction of where it's meant to go next, because my last experiment with it my gut started to tell me, okay, time to take a step back from that. But it was really conversations like the one I had with you sitting down at dinner and you just sharing your personal experience with it that are the most powerful and the most informative and the most helpful for people who are exploring
very
clairvoyance, because it's so easy to get so consumed in like, okay, let me just eat up all of these healers and go to a bunch of different people and experience all of it, but it can also make you go fucking crazy because you're taking in too much external information. So what I really needed was hearing someone's personal experience with clairvoyance, someone who was willing to divulge that vulnerability and like share how it's been for them, like what's been difficult, what are your guidelines and guardrails and boundaries about how you read and who you read.
Oh my gosh, totally.
I was picking your brain about the fact that you do read people that you know, and even sometimes people that you're close to.
Impressive.
And different people who work in
vulnerable.
the space have very different perspectives on that. So hearing your experience with that was like super helpful for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at right now too. Like the very first clairvoyant that I saw, who was the woman who told me that I was going to be doing this, is actually been the one that has been a constant for me, and I continue to go back to because she kind of plays a mentorship role for me.
Absolutely.
It's not just about stepping in and being like, tell me what you're seeing or hearing, because that can make me spin out a bit too much, I think. And especially
Absolutely.
for people who are learning this work, it's like you need to listen to yourself
Absolutely.
more than you're listening to others. So it's just having someone that's willing to teach and share. And
Yeah, I love that because that's like really, I feel like that's part of my mission is to make it feel, in a lack of better words, like acceptable.
Yeah.
And I would say encouraging others to also come out into that space.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of
Scary.
us, you know?
Yeah.
But it is definitely scary in the same aspect of anything that's new, anything that feels like you're exposing a part of you that you really didn't know
Yeah.
kind of like existed or didn't know the words for it.
Yeah.
So like when I came into that space, it was just, you know, I didn't have the most glorious time of experiencing those things. And so
How did it happen
Yeah, I
for
was
you?
just
Let's,
gonna say.
if you want, if you're
Oh my God,
comfortable digging into
absolutely.
that,
It's
let's
really important
let's
that we share
back up.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how did it start for you?
Yeah, I would say let's start from the top, make it pop. But I would say, you know, it came from a very a dark place. Like, yes, like it sounds so like wow, wow, woo, a dark place, and like it's just that. But honestly, like my childhood was great on paper. If you really asked me, like, what was it really like, it was just very lonely and extremely depressing. You know, I have a twin brother, and so we're fraternal. so, and he means like the world to me. We came into this space together.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of like my force in that. And so I always wanted to like lend myself into avenues that I really couldn't express.
Yeah.
So like what that means is like having a childhood. Like I didn't have that childhood. His experience was different from mine in that context, but where I was wounded, I didn't want to project that wound. And so like you would see something like that's so intuitive, and you would see someone who is having joy and expression, and you want more of that for them because you just couldn't find that for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my empathy would come forward into that space. And so my surroundings, they were just very vivid. And so I guess like how it all started was I had to wake up from that numbness. And so as a child going into a space that's like super unknown and unfamiliar, I really couldn't express like who I was. I was really silenced the majority of being a kid.
Yeah.
And so creativity, so this goes hand in hand, I guess. So creativity.
That's why I love like your work as a creative director for the beauty space, the fashion space, and then the clairvoyance and how that comes to like.
It was my outlet.
You and I, like, I just
This is so
Yeah.
similar.
such
yeah.
wild
Right. We're all
parallel and
connected.
but completely different experience and circumstances. Just very interesting.
Yeah, it's so healing because like when we express these things, like where I didn't have a voice and it was extremely internal for me, I was looking through imagination.
Yeah.
And so like when you think about clairvoyance, when you think about psychics, it's all like where does it channel from?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was all visual in the beginning, and it was like I would have really vivid dreams, and you know, till this day, like I don't sleep because I just sometimes I go into this like unknown territory, and I like to be rogue. So like I don't really want to be something that's like polished in this space because I feel like it's more profound to like be more scrappy. So what that means is like I just focus on my breath. And so I know I'm like going back and forth, but
Well,
I think
it's
it just
a
has a lot.
complex thing to describe and explain.
So I'm gonna try to be like flow with it. So where I was like really silenced as a child and really depressive and genuinely just very, I want to say again, alone in that space where I just like would revert back to my own self and I would like the torment or it was just very challenging in that. And so creativity was really my outlook. But what I didn't realize that the things that I was visualizing and the things that I was drawing or the things that I was really drawn to on a visual channeling level were expressing what I was seeing around me when, let's say, my eyes were closed. And so my eye was open. I just didn't know how to articulate that. So I would just express it through connection with people and empathy. And I would get impressions. And so therefore I would like always hang out with the adults, you know, because like the children aspect of it, like I just felt like I had a different responsibility. I couldn't really be a kid because of my own place in the world, my own sexuality, the suppression. I knew a long time ago I was different when I was, you know, 5 years old. So I had to bury that inside of me in order to like protect myself.
That's fucking heavy.
Yeah.
5 years
To be that
old?
young.
Yeah, I was 5
And
when
just-
I knew something was different.
And for everyone out there, just when you're referring to your eye, it's your third eye and
Yes.
opening that up, which is part of clairvoyance. Just to be clear, it's not that you
Yes.
literally could see or not physically.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it's your third eye.
For sure. And it was just, I knew it very young. And so I didn't know what that meant. Like,
Yeah.
why wasn't I doing the things that, or interested in the things that, let's say, my brother was interested in? Or
Right.
we were, like, I have no resentment towards my brother. And a lot of people ask me, like, don't you resent him? And I'll be like, absolutely not. Like, he is, like, truly, like, they used to call us, like, he's like the sun. He's blonde. And I'm like the moon. So, like,
What a
it's just-
trip.
yeah. So it's
Wow.
really funny because, and he really tries, like, he's really very much a loving person as well. But we were in it together in our
Yeah.
household. And this is probably the first time, like, growing up Armenian and being very, like, protective of our space and not really expressing emotion. A lot of us can relate to that kind of traditional aspect. The blessing was, as much as my parents were like my friends, my grandparents were the ones that raised us.
Okay.
And so, like, I always like to say, like, my parents were, like, kind of like my friends and roommates, in a lack of better words. But my
Yeah.
grandparents were really the driving force. My parents both worked. So there was no really an outlet. But this translates coming up into the storyline.
Yeah.
And so what happened is, so I was just, like, really internalizing everything. And so, long story short, I was just extremely, like, unaware of who I was. And I honestly, like, how would I have known? Like, inner
Yeah.
Andre
So
child, like, I
young.
wouldn't
Yeah.
know
5,
anything.
no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just, like, trying to, like, survive. And so one thing that people don't really know is that, like, in my in my family, like, they're all entrepreneurs too. And
Okay.
so that's why the entrepreneurialness is so vivid for me.
Right.
And so my father, who came here from Lebanon, and he really worked his ass off. Like, he really was isolated and worked from ground up.
Yeah.
And as much as, like, that's where the intuitiveness comes, that's where the psychic, like, I see him as a father, it was a little bit of a different experience. So, like, as a human to human to human, or, like, soul to soul, it was like I understood him and I forgave him for so many of the things. But our business, or, like, I would say the family business, is in something that is unique. It's in ammunition. So, like, which I grew up with seeing, ammo and guns, etc.
Yeah,
So
that in
as
itself is a really wild
so
experience.
I was terrified because he was a very robust individual, really
Yeah.
explosive in
Yeah.
his emotions.
Yeah.
And so that was, like, a trigger for me. Like, I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm probably gonna get a gun to my head. And so I was like, oh no,
My
like, I can't be
goodness.
any different. And so I had a comparison.
Even more limiting.
Oh, absolutely.
Even more internalization.
Because I would fight back. Like, I would say things that a kid shouldn't say. Like, I would say things that were too truthful. So, like, that's where the clairvoyance comes in. Like, why am I
see.
saying these things? Or I would see, like, my mom in this experience, and I would relate to her. And I would say things, and I wasn't supposed to say those things. Like,
Because
you
so
know.
much of what clairvoyance is, I think a lot of people look at it and they think, oh, you can, like, tell the future, or you can talk to dead people.
Yeah.
It's like,
You're a palm reader.
it can truly be, and that's where right now for me, getting to sit down with people like you who have so much to offer and share with the world, I'm using what you can label as clairvoyance to navigate how to tap into certain things,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
to ask a
Apply
question,
yourself.
where to
Exactly.
add a little pressure so that we can get the most out of a
Absolutely.
conversation. And that's what you were doing with your relationships. It's like you
Yeah.
could you could feel and internally see things with your
Yes.
parents.
I was definitely trying to get clarity. The point of being a clairvoyant is clarity, and
Yeah.
is to illuminate what is the path or the journey. And yes, it's really about the present, going into what is forward thinking, going into going
Hello.
Hi, Akash.
He's our mascot.
No worries.
Sorry.
it's like, imagine. Great, we're doing
You
amazing.
look
This is my
Spiffy.
fiance.
Yeah, I met him.
Oh, yeah, you
He
met.
was wearing Dior.
What's going on?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Amazing.
You're looking spiffy.
Yeah.
Yeah, where are you going?
I have to get my passport renewed.
Okay.
Taking a shot on a date.
I just gotta take a passport photo.
Oh, nice.
You can wear prints in your passport photos?
Yeah.
I don't know. In Hong Kong, they're really strict.
Really?
Yeah, dude. They don't let you smile.
Oh wow.
I've heard the
that.
no smile thing.
I could see that. I could see that.
My last one,
Oh wow, he like busted it out.
Let me check.
it's
He's
just your
like-
head. It's like just your face.
Oh, okay. You look
Oh.
hot. Damn. Bye. Love
Not
you.
even a
Back to
strand.
that version?
Yeah,
Not even a strand of hair missing.
I know.
Oh.
Okay, bye. It's okay. Don't worry.
No, we loved it.
Have a good one.
Yeah, so it was just it's you know like
It's
it's about
clarity.
the present and
Yeah.
it's about clarity. It's about illuminating what is the intention.
Yeah.
And so you said something great, Melinda. It's about like the question.
Yeah.
So like an example of that and how you like, let's say, in a lack of better words, channel is really the intention behind where you are and where you're funneling that information. Like we're totally exposed to everything. This is all energy from everything, you know, like it sounds like ADD or I don't know if that's the appropriate word. I don't know if I'm going to get canceled for that.
I feel you. I don't know what I
know.
say sometimes. But.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's a very open and the reality is that in my space, yes, I have like shiny ball syndrome, but I like, if I were to be like creative about it, like I also have like shiny ball, crystal ball syndrome.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, like what should I touch? Like what should I impress? Like what should I imprint? So like the impressions are vivid, but I have to control the narrative in what I'm a part of. So like, whereas like when I was a child, I was exposed to so much and it would just like consume me and I would just internalize. So like inside, I was just like, you know, a sponge carrying the weight of that like heaviness. Like I was just like grabbing onto
Yeah,
that.
of course.
And so like that's where addictions came in. You know,
At what point did you recognize
Yeah.
that you were clairvoyant?
Yeah.
That these
so
things.
this segues into it. So basically, I just became numb as a child and as a teen.
Because you're suppressing all of this.
I suppressed so much.
Yeah.
How? How did you even suppress
yeah.
it? Because
Honestly, I just didn't talk.
Well, your
I
environment,
didn't talk.
being
Yeah.
in that environment with.
that takes
Right.
a lot.
And
out
I
of
would just
you.
like be a people pleaser. So like I would
okay.
be like, oh, like let me impress like
Yeah.
who I need to impress.
Yeah.
By my channeling, like oh
Yeah.
they like this, so or like they feel a connection towards me.
you could
because
pick up on
Oh,
it and then like
absolutely.
feed into that.
Oh my god!
Be like,
it was
oh,
like
I
my
know that they're like
protection.
this or this, so I'm going to
Absolutely.
use
It was
that.
like my
I see,
That's how
okay.
I was able to survive.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I wasn't even of service. Like I didn't know what that meant. So
Yeah.
leading into that, it happened because something like more profound happened where my grandmother died. So like my mother figure, my like best friend, everything just like it shattered. Like it totally shattered my entire world. And so I spent like weeks just like literally on the floor, and I had a dog who I called upon, like you know, I called upon the God force, and he presented that to me. So I was with my dog, and I was afraid of dogs, like genuinely. I was
Really?
definitely scared of dogs. My mom
Wait,
was scared of
expand
dogs.
on that. You called upon like
Yeah, I
you
was
didn't
so
have a
depressed.
dog and
No, I
you
didn't.
were basically asking for a
So
dog.
prior to my
I see.
grandmother's death, etc., I was just like really suicidal, and I was just like trying to figure out like how do I get out of
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
And so I don't take suicide very lightly.
Of course.
In the sense, but I want to make it like I want to tell the people that like it's okay that you have these thoughts.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not you know, different in the sense of like
So many
don't
people
like
do.
Yeah.
So
We
many
both have.
people.
We both.
yeah, I know.
Natasha opened up about it for the first time on this podcast,
Yeah.
and I've talked about it too.
I mean, there's a lot of firsts for me here. No one ever asks me questions because
well,
and
you're
this is a
often
safe
behind
place.
the camera,
Yeah,
right?
I'm often behind the
Yeah.
camera, and I'm also behind the seat.
Yeah.
Especially when like psychic things, etc. Like, it's not about me. It's
Yeah.
really about the person.
Yeah.
So going back to that place, so I was extremely depressed, and I didn't cry for like years. Like I remember this one time, like I was really emotional, and I was running away from an incident. And so I locked myself up, and then I was like, I can never cry again. Like you are so weak, like you are so exposed, and if you expose that, then they know your weakness.
Yeah.
And so I just like suppressed that, and I was completely numb. And so as a younger adult, I was crying one day, like just by myself in my parents' living room, and I was just talking to God, and I said, please, like send me something to like make my life a little easier, because I just had no one. And so I had no one. And so I was like, just make my life easier. And so I thought, okay, like, let me, like, what is it? And so then I had this visual of a dog. And so I was like, a dog? I was like, I'm terrified of dogs. Like, I was like, what do you mean? And so it was this black dog. And the vision came while I was awake. Like, so this was the first time that I was like, oh my gosh, like the vision, it's not my imagination. It's something's coming through.
Because before this, it was always dreams.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was always dreams. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm present, but I'm like such in a meditative state that I was like, you know, just weeping. And then it just channeled through. And I saw the vision of a black dog in front of a light source. And I was like, what is that? And then I was like, wait a minute, like I need to focus on that. But it was because I broke. Like I broke that. And so I like became more authentic. Like I wasn't like hiding. I was like, ugh, like, you know, just like, it was like a breath, like that just like exploded. And so long story short, I saw this visual that night. I was like, I need to move forward. This was my guidance now. So I was like, I didn't know what guidance was at the time. And so I was like, wait, but something's telling me that like I need to now go on Penny Saver. I need to go on Craigslist.
And explain quickly, like for so many people out there that might not use the same terminology or might have no idea about anything clairvoyance, like that guidance, a lot of people look at it differently. It can be your guides, it can be angels, it can be whatever you believe in, whatever you want to label it, similar to God or universe or energy.
Exactly.
But it was all of a sudden receiving a push of some sort that was like,
and a clarity.
Almost, you're like, where is this coming from? But I know I have to do it. And that's the guide.
Exactly. Yes. And so I was like, okay, I need to lean into this. And so that night, we went and we went to a very far place. I think it was Diamond Bar. And I saw the visual of the dog. So I love how like we're getting to this, but there's just so many little things.
It's important.
Yeah. So I had my dog is what I mean. So like, that's how I got my dog, my first dog. His name is Charuk. And Charuk in Armenian means like mischievous. And so he was like a shadow. Like he was like a black magic dog. He was a Labrador. But it gets better in life too. Like just to like little thing, I actually he passed and I got another dog.
Yeah.
It's like a soul dog. And I was just like, it was such a reward. But so when my grandma passed away, I felt everything. I saw everything. I saw her funeral when I didn't know I saw her funeral until the funeral happened. And I was like in my teens when I saw the casket, when I saw like the color of the casket, when I saw.
Did it feel like deja vu or
it
did
felt
it?
Like deja vu.
Okay.
Yes. When that funeral actually happened, I was like, wait a minute. And I remember my internal dialogue saying, and this is what this is going to be. And this is who I'm going to see now. So I was able to pick up on so much of like the rhythm of the channeling and the, I want to say premonition.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things like it was so scrappy as a kid. Like it was just like boom, boom, boom. I
You
didn't
had
know
no
what anything
guidance.
made
You didn't know
sense.
what it
None.
meant.
Nothing. I didn't know my breath. Nothing.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so I was with my dog and I just said, I need to get out of this chamber. Like I need to get out of myself.
Yeah.
And so I just broke open. Like I literally felt myself break apart and I felt tears for the first time again. And so I remember like, so basically to answer in short, my grandma died, I woke up. And so I just became more present in what that space is.
That was like the awakening for you.
And so,
well, usually it's a near-death experience.
Yes,
It's
something
for me,
like
it was
this.
my mental health hitting rock bottom and like just feeling so broken, or losing someone and having something break you down like that. That then you're like, it somehow
Exposed.
awakens you. It somehow like you put the pieces back together, but it's different this time, and usually for the better.
Absolutely for the better.
Yeah.
I couldn't really express any of this. So then I went to a psychic shop. And so that's when it happened.
Okay.
Is that like I was there because I needed help.
Yeah.
That's super vulnerable for me to ask for help because I've always been either disappointed or never had the outlet.
Especially when you grew up in a family that wasn't accepting of that kind of stuff, or didn't talk about that kind of like the
We didn't talk
psychic.
about
How did you
feelings.
end up at a psychic? Just because of like seeing it in movies, or
No,
were
I
you
just
pulled there?
knew that perhaps like they would have the answer.
Yeah.
Because for some reason I was like, and I visualized this place. I was like, I need to go here.
Okay,
And so when I was breaking down, I was like, I need to go.
so you saw it.
Yeah. I was like, I saw the vision of the shop.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, I need to go there because things were just like heightened. Everything was just so stimulating. Like I could smell deeply. I could hear deeply. I could like see deeply.
Interesting.
Like it was like the senses became like amplified to the point where it's like I was like in a dream.
Okay.
I was like, oh my God, I'm in a dream. And so, long story short, I went to a psychic and she just looked at me and I sat down and I really was like, help me. Like, you know, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I sat down and she just looked at me and she goes, listen. And I said, yeah. And she goes like, listen, like, you need to train how to breathe. And so I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't understand what you mean, like by breathing. And so she's like, you are a psychic. And I said, what do you mean I'm a psychic? Like, what does that mean?
Wow.
And so she said, I can't really, like, this read is for me to tell you that if you spend some time with me, I will help you. And I had nothing. I was a saboteur too. So like I had nothing. I had shit. Like I had no money. I was surviving off of like paychecks, my creativity. I was like, what am I going to offer this person? And so she gave me like, that's when I knew that if you're of service, like you actually need to accept the abundance or else you're blocking it. And so she said anything. And so I said, sure, like no problem. I was like, if she can help me get through this, or else I was just going to off myself. Like I was like, I have nothing. So like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to, I had a plan. So I was romanticizing it. And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So I went to her a couple times a week, and for like 30 minutes she would just teach me how to breathe, and then she was like, it's up to you to decide what your divination is. And so when we talk about divination, for everybody like who's kind of like, it's like your kind of your formality or introduction to that channeling. So like
Okay.
an example of that is like in movies and stuff, you'll see like crystal ball. That's a divination tool. I didn't want to be that. So like even then I was like stubborn and like I was like, I don't want to be that. I was like, what?
That's
like,
not my vibe.
Yeah, I was like, that's not me. I was like, that's so off-brand. And so I was like,
That's so off-brand.
I was like, this isn't gonna work for me. And so she actually told me to like try a paper technique. And so
Okay.
a paper technique is like you just write the information of that person down, and with their like name, etc. And that's a formal introduction. It's like a ticket. It's like, okay, like I look at it like a ticket because obviously I'm still creative at the end of the day. So I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like, nah, nah.
Also, your handwriting. Also, writing is clearly
Writing,
something
yeah.
that is powerful.
It's so powerful.
you.
It's so powerful. And so I would just put it in my palm and she would just tell me, what do you feel? And I would just say this, this, that. And she's like, I blew her mind to the point where it's because I had no rules. Like I didn't care. Like I was like, I didn't want to impress her. I didn't want to like be a people pleaser. I was like, whatever, like give me
You
the
probably
damn
didn't
paper.
even know what you were
Yeah, I didn't
doing,
know what
and
I was
you're also
doing.
at rock bottom thinking
Exactly.
about really dark thoughts.
Yes,
Yeah.
And you're just like,
exactly.
what do I have to fucking lose?
I was like, I have nothing to lose. I was
Yeah.
like, give me the damn fucking paper and let
Yeah.
me just read this thing.
yeah.
But that's why in the darkest moments, because
Yes.
I've been there, I've been to so many
Absolutely.
psychics in my darkest moments.
Absolutely.
Because you find what makes you grow from
Mm-hmm.
that point. So
Absolutely. And usually it's like that. They don't like usually when you're of service, they come to you for issues. They need clarity. And so I needed clarity and she offered that to me and
Yeah.
in a more profound way. And I had fun with it, I'll be honest. Like I was like, okay, like I'm this now.
Do you remember how you blew her mind? Like what came out? Do
Yeah.
you remember any
I
I
do,
feel like
actually.
I feel like obviously we're not here to convince anyone. That's
No,
also
absolutely
what.
not. No.
But I think it's really fun
I think
sometimes
it's so
to
fun.
hear a few of the
Yes.
examples.
So she gave me a person that was her, it was a male's number. And like the date was the numbers of this person's birth date.
Okay.
So she gave me numbers and then she gave me a name and she hid it from me.
Okay.
And then she's like, now
So you didn't get to read it.
I didn't get to read it.
Okay.
And so I just held it. I was like, give me the paper.
Yeah.
oh
Like-
my goodness, I know
and
where
so
this
I
is
was
going.
like, okay. And so I held it and she's like, like the receiving hand, etc. And I was like, I could do whatever I want.
I love
I was
you.
such a brat. I was like,
But I believe in that still.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people have processes and stuff like that and
Yes.
strategy behind clairvoyance. You
Yeah.
can go get a clairvoyant certification if you.
Uh-huh.
There's no rules.
There's no
It is
rules.
I can't
so
even imagine
personal,
having
so
no,
individual.
there's no rules. It's so
So I love
for
that you felt that from
yeah,
the beginning.
I was like, whatever. I was like, okay.
Made
And
it
then
yours.
I was like, this is my hand. I'm going to use this. And then I would like, I'm going to switch. And then so the first time, and I'll never forget it because it was like, I saw like sand. And I was like, why am I seeing sand? And so I would see sand and I saw a motorcycle.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, I see sand and I see a motorcycle. I see a male, a gentleman. And then I was like, something with like a bee. I was like, bee, da, da, da. And I was like saying, because I babble. So like, if you ever get a reading with me, I just babble. And I'm just like, it's not about me. So I'm like, okay.
You're saying what you see.
Seeing what, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Which is
then,
what you're supposed
exactly.
to do without
Yeah.
your own filters, without your
Exactly.
life
No filter.
experiences. Just say what you see.
Precisely. That's, so you can imagine that's such a freedom for me too.
Yeah.
Because where I'm filtering my own life, I'm unfiltered for someone else.
Yeah.
And so I was like saying this, and she just looked and she goes like, wow. And she's like, you are so talented. I was like, talented? You know, I was like thinking art. I'm like, what? And then I was like, what do you mean talented? And she goes like, you, and can I just preface this by like, just so you guys can set the tone. It was like a small ass room and it smelled like cat piss.
Oh no.
I'm just going to say it. So everybody understands like, well, the shit that I was
the
dealing
vibe.
with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And so, and like, bless her heart, she was amazing. But even then, as a clairvoyant, I could see that she was struggling.
Yeah.
So I wanted to help her too.
I see.
And so I channeled her father.
Oh.
And so like her father, but it was a stepfather.
Okay.
And so someone who was a father figure to her, it was a stepfather. And so she's like, oh my gosh, like I haven't felt that. She's like, you would not know that. And I was like, yeah, like how would I know that? Like she just giving me a piece of
Yeah,
piece of
paper.
paper you
exactly.
didn't
And then
get
she
a look
told me a
at.
story about how he used to ride motorcycles, etc. Because it was an impression. And then that's when she taught me about asking a question. So like you get the impression, then you ask the question. And so now we know we're like riding the wave.
Right.
And if you feel it, like you're just like, okay, like, ooh, like, you know. So that's what happened. And then since then, she told me, she gave me some assignments. She wanted me to practice working in a shop. I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I was like, the shop is like, I'd rather not. Like I
Yes.
was like, I'm not putting myself in like a fucking box.
Yeah.
And like in this room, I was like, the tea sucks. I was like, why am I gonna do this? I was like, again, off brand. And then so I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I was like, I will be of service to people that need it.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna like offer money. I didn't know what to do actually. I was just like, whatever. And so yeah, so that's how it all started. And then so I just started meditating. I went to meditation classes. That's when I started knowing that my human experience is also like I have my own guidance, as we found out. And so I was like, I have to ask then what is it that I need? And I had to be unfiltered. I had to be super authentic and break open and say like, I need help.
Yeah.
And so I was connecting to individuals. And so just to bring it back, my career, what they didn't ever know was that they were a part of my journey as much as I was a part of theirs. So there were certain people that I would have to meet. There were certain patterns that I would have to release. There was individuals who I wanted to amplify and people who wanted to help me. Like I had such a rogue experience. Like I was just like this lone ranger who was just existing and you know, using creativity, yes, as my outlet, but my clairvoyance was still something that I had to keep to myself because the second I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And then I
It's so
became,
stigmatized, you know, people.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own opinion of it, and every healer you go to or every clairvoyant you go to has their own opinion of it. Like it's all so personal. So it's hard to put yourself out there.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
For people who would probably be in that position, being like, you know, I'm so desperate for answers,
Yeah.
and they go to a psychic, and someone tells you, look, I can help you. I've had that said to me so many times. Like, I can help you
Such a good
get rid of this curse. I can help you get rid of this black magic. I can
Yeah.
help you get rid of this bad person in your life. How is someone supposed to think and respond to that in a way where it's like, oh, this person's not hustling me for money or, you know, whatever it may be?
I love that you asked that because, see, that's the thing. How do I articulate this? Because I don't want to bash anyone. But basically, that to me sounds gimmicky.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're
Like,
trying to convince
They're
you.
trying to convince
Yeah.
you to come back and lure you in
Yeah.
because you're desperate.
Yeah.
And so my experience was perfect because I was giving, like, she didn't tell me something was wrong with me. And I think that's the thing that individuals don't understand. When you go, so answer your question, when you go to a psychic for help or clarity, initial reaction should not be instilling more fear.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Okay,
when
good
it's
to know.
gimmicky.
Yeah.
And when they're using their power or their gift for something that's not authentic.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit of a God complex as well,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
thinking that they're better.
Absolutely.
That's the thing is like everyone is clairvoyant. Everyone has this ability. Some people are born with more of it. Some people come into it. Some people never even tap it.
Absolutely.
But to think that you're so far above someone and to speak in that way, there's like little red flags. You know?
Yeah.
And it's so true because like, for example, like when I decided that I wanted to be of service is because I wanted to be the example, like of that individual that you would go to and be like, oh, I need
Yes.
help. I was like, wait, something's off because the same teacher who was teaching me how to breathe, she told me a story about somebody who she was helping and they would use that for bad. Like
yeah.
they were seeing the impressions, they were definitely clairvoyant, they were definitely in that psychic ability,
Yeah.
and then they were using it to manipulate.
Yeah.
That's the fear, right? That's what I
Absolutely.
think sometimes. And then I'm like, am I overthinking it? Am I doing this? But I also am quite intuitive. I'm not a clairvoyant, but I mean, everyone has
I mean,
it.
everyone, yeah.
But I feel like I'm very intuitive and that I can kind of feel it. I'm like, oh, this is what I feel about this person. But then I have to shut it off sometimes because I'm like, I don't want to be negative.
You don't want to lean into it. And that's the thing, it's like it's not negative, it's just contrast. It's
Yeah.
just dark. Like you just have, and
yeah.
that's what we're here for. We're to illuminate that
Yeah.
dark. So like when so I decided that I was going to be of service, and it really started while I was freelancing.
Wow.
Because I had my own company at the time. I was doing t-shirts and corsets and all these things, and I was trying to find my identity. And then I met somebody during having a business. I was also freelancing, and then so I met an individual who became a dear friend of mine. She opened the floodgates of these women who wanted readings, but because it was coming from a
Wow.
trust to trust.
Yes.
So that's what happened, was that it was all a network. And so I've never till this day said, come and get a reading from me.
Yeah.
I've never, because there was no point. It was always just word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so I really take pride in that. And to be honest, like even exposing that now, I've realized that I need to be more of service, and this is my purpose. And so, yes, like when we're all like clairvoyant, or we all have the ability and the intuition and everything like that, it's up to you to decide. Like in my seed, where I can't speak for everybody else, but I was like, I need to be the person who helps in an
Yeah.
authentic way. And I was like, that's also rebellion. Like I
Yeah.
was like, fuck it, like let me help
Yeah.
them. And I was like, oh God, like how many people am I gonna like, support? And that goes back to the original, to come full circle, why I'm do readings for family too. Because where I didn't have the support, I still am not gonna close the door.
Right.
And so like mentioning like my brother, etc. Like I've done readings and he never asked me like that. But like when he's off, and it's how it happened like a few times, like I counted on my hand, I've really helped him in that. And that gave me such relief for him.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, like, and it would just come through. And, like just to give a beautiful example, recently my brother just got married, and yeah, super amazing. And he was in a relationship that was of contrast prior. And so where I was alone, etc. This is maybe a different topic, but I decided that I was going to move in with him.
Okay.
And again, like kind of being a participant in their life and like being there, etc.
Yeah.
So he asked for a reading, and then I saw his wife before he met his wife.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my God. And I was like so happy. And she's probably listening to this. I was so happy because she was blonde. And yes, I'm still like aesthetics and like, like call it what it is. Like I still have that visual for myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's blonde. And my brother was never dating blondes. And I was like, you have to be with the blonde. I was like 100%. And so I kept telling him. And then when I saw it, I was like, and then I said her name, etc. So it's all, it all comes.
You get
like,
specifics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get specifics,
Wow.
but it all comes in the way it needs to be delivered. So I was just like, okay, like, can we go in? And so I said, this person is going to introduce you, etc. It's going to be in, a couple months, etc. She has this hair, she looks like this, etc. And so his stories are always my favorites because I get to like share those because he's my brother and too bad.
So cute.
But like other than that, other clients, etc.
Of course, yeah.
I would keep it to
Yeah.
myself.
Of
But
course.
as far as like, starting, I was really fortunate to, I always say like I'm the reader. I'm like the next door reader because like it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity, if you're anyone. Doesn't matter if you're just like a professional, a young adult, or an older individual. Like I'm for you regardless if you want me because you have to also receive me too.
Yes.
I've had the opportunity to reach so many different types of individuals. Like I've been doing this now for like being of service for over 12 years. So like I haven't, this isn't new territory for me. It's probably the only thing that's been really consistent aside from my creativity. But like, it's not like a company where you're just like switching. It's just like, it's just the same channel, just different, and people. So it's just very interesting in that context. But like I always tell people, like individuals go like, Andre, like you need to up your price. Like, Andre, you need to do this. And I go like, see, when I had nothing and I didn't have money, and that reader, my mentor as well at the time, she said, give me an offering because that's what was right.
Yeah.
And so I would never do something where it takes you away from giving you more hardship.
Yeah.
So like, there's always something.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people too will like they'll up their prices or whatever, and then they do like some pro bono work,
Exactly.
like or however you want to figure it out. But
Precisely. But I will say like, and so just to up the antics more, so then I decided that I was gonna, I went into a company, undergarments actually, funny enough, and because I wanted to, I was like, I love Victoria's Secret.
I started my career at Agent Provocateur.
Yeah, I love that for me.
I
Because
just
like right
like
now
the
we're about to talk about
parallels.
thongs.
Yes.
So
I
In
also
fact,
only
I'm
wear
wearing
thongs.
my
I was gonna say,
AP
it's
bra.
super
Yeah,
cute that you're
exactly.
wearing-
I was like, damn, that's a really sexy bra. And she's like, yeah, it's like my old AP
It's
stuff.
so cute.
Synchronicities.
I love that. But like I loved because like my own personal style, like what I personally like is that like edgier, little sensual, sexy. Like I love that. Like I love it.
That's
Like,
why you were doing
definitely
corsets
see that
and
for you.
shirts.
absolutely. I
Okay,
was like,
got it. So
like, I was
lace
like,
and like
oh
leather
my gosh,
and all
like
that.
everything.
Yeah, me
like all
too.
my t-shirts were like very tongue in cheek. Like it would be like a shirt where it's like a girl blowing a bubble gum and it would say blow me. And then it's just like, it was just so fun. But that was a different time in my life. But so then, so up the antics, then I was like, okay, I'm in this space. Why am I in this space? Like it was a startup. It was and I knew they were going down. Sorry, if you're listening.
No, fair enough.
But I knew they were going down, but I know I need
Just
to be
facts.
there.
Yeah.
And so then I connected with an individual who like I really adored, and we just like instantly clicked. And I was like, okay, for sure. Like she's like a part of my tribe. And so her name is Jackie. So Jackie Sweet, if you're listening, and she actually is a content creator, and she owns the space of Sweet Life of Sundays.
Ooh, cute.
So Sweet Life Sundays. Yeah. Hopefully.
And
I
her
got that
last
right.
name is Sweet.
Yeah. And
That's
so like
so cute.
so this
That's
comes
great branding.
Well, that's the thing. So like I would always say like let's have like I would put on the calendar cavity corner, and I would be like let's get to the cavity corner, and so we spoke about things, and I would expose myself in this content because like saying I'm a psychic, etc. And I wanted to do life coaching. Because I was like, as a psychic, you're channeling and you're providing the information. She got her certification in life coaching, so she was a connector in that. So the point I'm trying to make is like, there's always connections for even us too. Like we're not like we're not uninvolved in the experience.
Yeah, it's also not like you can like see your entire future
Yeah.
and know everything that's going to happen for yourself. Like you might get like a thing
Exactly.
here or a thing here. Yeah.
Exactly. Or else what's the point of having a human experience?
Yeah.
That's the rings play. Like we're having to, enjoy ourselves. And so she told me, there's this online course. And I was like, perfect. And the reason why I wanted to do life coaching as well is because like I call it like the 3 C's. And funny enough, because all my spirit dogs are all C names too. And so it's like the 3 C's, like it's like creative direction, so creativity, clairvoyance, so the psychic, coaching, the life coaching.
Oh, love
and so the
that.
coaching allowed me to help individuals also on a human level. So there's a spiritual side where it's like formless. And then there's a formed where it's like I got to support. So like if I offer that, like I say, if you want something that to get to through a block and actually have like tangible things to work on, I can support you in that. So that's what happens. So yeah, I started doing that as well, and now I could be more versatile in the sense of like kind of making it less intimidating too, because like when you say, hey Andre, what do you do, like it's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I want to be authentic, and I want to be like, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I'm a creative individual who's here just like you in this human experience. But, on a more surface level, like, yes, you want to hear that I'm a creative director, so then you can, identify me in a group, know. And so that's fine. But like, there's more to it.
Yeah.
I'm also a psychic. I'm also somebody who uses that ability to support individuals. So where I'm helping a brand, or where I'm helping myself with creativity and exposing that through everything, I'm also helping individuals get through or illuminate their darkness.
And
Love
where
that.
okay, so I have like kind of a
Yeah.
two-part question.
I love it.
The first one I've been thinking about for a long time, and it's part of the reason I've kind of taken a step back with all of this. The first layer of it is inevitably when you're going to a clairvoyant, you want to look for those red flags where there might be too much emotion or too much of their life experience that's being projected into the message that they're giving you. Like you said, you see and you deliver. You do not put your spin on it. You don't try and interpret it. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So there's that layer to it. But what kind of spun me out for a while is this concept of, if you're doing a reading on someone, you could do a reading on them the next day, and that reading could look completely different, right? Like the path could look completely different. So there's that. There's also the fact that as humans, we have free will. So you can tell someone a certain message, and it doesn't mean that it's going to come true, because based on what you're telling them, they may choose a different direction.
That's true.
And to me, it
It's
gets
up
a
to
little
you.
sticky
Yeah.
and complex in whether or not predictive reading is actually helpful to people. And obviously we know very well it can be to
Yeah.
some people.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's just where they are in their journey. But I think like as a blanket statement to be like, everyone should go to a clairvoyant and get a psychic reading, meaning like a predictive reading. I don't know that I agree with that. And I don't know that a predictive reading is actually super healthy for everyone.
It's not
Maybe
for
if
everyone.
they're going to a healer like you, where you're not going to let anything else come through your filter. But most people don't have the tools or the information or the experience to identify what is a clear message or what might be have another filter on it. And that's like what I've experienced from I dove into this world not knowing anything about it, and I'm a geek and I like to research things, and so I went to tons of different readers, and I started to see whose like emotional baggage was being added into their message to me, or who was like very clear, or who was holding back certain information intentionally because they know that it wouldn't necessarily be helpful to me. There's a lot of ethics about this work that I'm grappling with,
Yes,
and I don't
I
know
totally
what
get
I
it.
feel about.
Honestly, I think that's what it comes down to, is just letting it flow, sure. But when you talk about specifics like red flags, if you feel like there's a ick, or if you feel like your own, because we said it, like we all have intuition.
Yeah.
If you feel like there's something a little off, then that's not for you, and
Yeah.
you're just wasting time. But I will say, because I'm stubborn, I'm not different. Like, I'm not different in the sense of like the channeling, etc. I just know what it's like to not have access to this. And so when we say like, can everyone go to a reader? No, because you need to be ready for that. So that's why I say I don't read everyone.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, oh, like Andre, like I'm, like especially they know who I am, and I'm exposed to that. Let's say in a scenario, but if I'm at a party and they're like, oh my God, I heard you're a psychic, like tell me about my future, I would
Yeah.
be like, boundary.
Yeah.
And I would be like,
Yeah.
absolutely, we can talk about it. You can, book a session.
Yeah.
So I had to learn that.
Yeah.
But I guess my point to give you that is, what is your desire and your intention of like going to that reader. Because like, for example, like for me, it's not like broadcasted. It's like very word of mouth. And that person who tells you about me, you know that that person is authentic or honest or trustworthy. So therefore, that's a green flag.
No, I mean, I wish everyone was like you, hearing about how you work and how you channel and how you clear your space and how intentional you are about that. I just think in my experience, there's been more that don't do that than do that.
Exactly, because you're going to the sign, like actual physical sign. Let's talk about creative branding. But the sign, like your own personal sign, it's so much different experience. Like when we were discussing like the sign of like asking for a dog or the sign of, oh my gosh, like I'm connected to that person. How?
Yeah.
Those kind of things are meaningful, especially when it came. Oh,
Here we go. I'm just trying to fix
it's like a lollipop.
We've had a lot of comparisons.
Too many dirty jokes, obviously.
Oh my God, I love that. I'm
here.
happy that I kept it a little bit clean.
Why?
Because, but yeah, so like going back to that, I completely agree. But
like
I think
cozy now.
I think the real, I love that. I think the real thing here is like the reflection of what you're doing too, because you're going and you're trying to find the answers through multiple different people. And so I think it's like you're not trusting yourself.
Right.
Because one is
I'm seeking
genuinely
too much external validation and
you said
information.
it like you're a nerd, which is awesome. I think we're all nerds.
Yeah. Well, we get
like,
excited about what we
you're,
will
like,
learn
you're-
about.
Exactly. And so like you're overly like you're putting all this information, you're putting it together and piecing it together. But the answer is always super clear.
Yeah.
The answer is super clear. So like when you said if you do a reading for somebody today and you do it tomorrow, that is not, let's say, recommended, because it's not that it's different, it's that they have finally like either absorbed something through you and maybe they need time. Maybe it's like instant or like you're predicting something that's like, because that you were saying predictive, etc. Like it's true. Like for me, like I just visualize or I hear or I smell something and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, this is going to happen in a few months, whatever. It's not a few months though. So like if they come back to me the next day, now they're the problem because now they're addicted. Like they're just like, oh, we need clarity. And I've had those experiences where I've worked with individuals on a professional level, being creative, but they knew I was also a psychic and they would constantly ask me 10,000 questions.
Right.
And it was like, I grew up in a very like work hard, environment where I'd be like, oh shit, like I have to be proper. But like the psychic in me wants to be like, can you fuck off? Like, can you like close your, like, can you let me just do like what I do? This is my safe place. Like, I'm planning this photo shoot. I'm doing this, like the website needs to be this. And I'm just like, I don't want to turn that on right now. And this aspect of like being so real.
Yeah.
Because like, I want to play. Like I'm playing right now. So like you're taking that away from me. So I think when you say like red flags, I think genuinely it's not that you're like, the problem is that you're looking for it. But when it comes to you, you know that your guidance is always superior. So like if it comes to you in an authentic, organic way, then you use discernment and say, wait, I didn't actually need to go to 10,000 psychics or 10,000 things because you were also trying to figure out like how do other people do it because you too are a rebellion. So
and I think my example of like, and that's something that I've read or I've been taught or I've heard.
Yeah.
It's not literally the client coming back to you the next day. It's like the idea that the reading could look and sound different if it were to be done again the day after. Is what I've heard.
I'm gonna give a real example.
Yeah.
So like an example, because I get a lot of people who come for me for love. And that's really fun, of course. Like,
that's like the one time most people
love and
look.
money, right?
Oh my God, they
Love and
love
business,
business, absolutely. Health, and I always do a scan. But the reality is that like when like let's talk about love because I think that's what people will understand more, and everybody loves to love death.
Yeah.
And so, like for instance, like I'm gonna give an example of somebody like let's say a client of mine who has to go through several stages in order for them to find their, let's say, life partner and someone that they want to grow with.
Right.
And so in that reading, it's like, an hour. And one thing I don't do is I don't promote recording. And so this is a little bit about me where I promote you have a notebook.
Yeah.
I could provide that for you, or you bring it. Like, it's super cute because like you get to bring your little notebook. And everybody who's my client is like always like, I'm bringing my notebook. And so they bring their notebook and you write it down because now there's psychology involved. You're going to remember that.
Yeah.
And so you're like, it's almost like you're casting, you're manifesting.
Yeah.
And you're writing down notes of
And
your
what's
own life.
resonating with you? What are you picking out of this?
Versus like, it's kind of like, a song that's like nostalgic. Like, you're just going to play that
Yeah.
recording and you're just going to be like, oh, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to have my partner is going to be this. And you're just stuck there.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm going to
Yeah.
have 2 children. You're just stuck there.
Yeah.
And so with that said, we're only there for an hour and I'm only providing that information. So I'm trying to get the best out of that hour for you. And I'm just like, blah, 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 like, saying all these things. And it's, so with that said, like it'll come to like, so the real answer is, will you, about love? Yes, you're going to get married. Yes, you're going to have children. Yes, you're going to have a long life. Okay, great. Simple, right? Now we backtrack it. And now the visions come. And so it's like, you have to meet this person in order for you to get through the next person to teach you something. And so the next day it's going to be different.
Do you tell them all of that?
Absolutely. Because like, I'm trying to get as much as possible because for me, I'm like, I would want to know.
Because I've
Yeah.
also heard some clairvoyants express that this much older woman who I saw met through a friend, and I respected her kind of ethos. But one thing that she said is like, I don't read too far in advance.
I'm a rebel.
Okay. And I'm fine with that. I want to
like- and I
learn
totally
from all
get
the
it.
people.
No, I
I
totally
want to
get
hear
it.
all the
Yeah.
perspectives.
I'm just like, show me. And like, I ask, like, I say like, like they ask me the question, I go straight to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like, am I like can you tell me about my love life? Sure.
Okay.
What do you want to know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, then let's start. And then I'll already get the impression. So I should preface this by like, I'll do a raw read. So that's another thing too. I'm not a fan of tarot.
Yeah.
Because I think tarot,
I'm starting to hear most people who are like,
I just
most
feel
people
like
are not
everyone,
into it.
it's a manipulative
Yeah,
tactic that
yeah.
can, and for me,
Can skew
anyone
your
who does
messages.
tarot, etc.,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
please don't clock me here. But the reality is that for me, it doesn't work because I think that it's just visual interpretation. So I'll use it as a form of like
A tool.
a tool that like at the end where I'll be like,
Yeah.
let's just, because they also hear me. But then when they physically see that like things are actually coming to life, I can't control that. So it's like,
Yeah.
and it's fun for me too, because I'm like, it's almost like I'm like plucking the flowers and making a bouquet.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, here you go, like that.
Yeah.
And so let's say, for example, in that case, like when we're talking about like, are things changing? It's not necessarily changing, they're forming. So like they're like, the goal is love and you're going to make it. You decide how you're going to get there. I provide the checkpoints. So like I say, in this moment of time, this is what's happening. And it's up to you to decide. Like you can easily say, like I say, oh, like it happened to me. I saw a black dog. I said, I wanted brown. I'm a brat. Like I was like, I want brown. Like, I'm like, what is this happening? I'm like, I want chocolate. I want a chocolate lab. It took me 11 years to get the chocolate lab because now I have a chocolate lab.
Oh my gosh.
So it took me 11
okay.
years.
Yeah.
So it was going to come to me. But when I was
Yeah.
there, physically there, and when I was picking up my first dog, the black one, I saw the chocolate. I was like, that's not for me. So my point is the same thing. It's like, is this for me? Is this not for me?
Yeah.
The psychic told me, or like in this case, like Andre told me that like I was going to meet somebody. I give clues. So like that you have your journey isn't, I want to say like one way.
Yeah.
Like it's multiple facets. It's beautiful. It's contrast. It's
Yeah.
illuminating. It's a lot of emotions. But the end goal is: are you living your life? Yes. Are you present? Yes. And that's the most important thing.
Okay, another hard question, and I like.
Yeah.
So if you, with that example that you used a second ago, like
Yeah.
you might get to your life partner at the end, but you have to go through these ones first. But then the person is like entering these relationships knowing that that person's
Yes.
not for them.
That's why I say like it's up to you to decide. Like
Yeah.
What information you ask
that's
for.
why it's not like psychic, or it's up to you. Like in the sense of like, do you really want to read with me or not?
Yeah.
Because like that's the thing. It's like I'm not going to tell you
Yeah.
what you want to hear. I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you what you need to hear
Yeah.
and what's healing, because I can't. And some might think that's negative, but at the same time, I think of it as you asked.
Yeah,
I'm giving you
exactly.
the most profound,
Honest answer.
truthful,
Yeah.
unbiased.
And I guess you
read.
just kind of have to trust that
And I
what's
tell
coming
people
through
that.
for that person is meant to come through for that
Exactly.
person. but it is kind of confusing, like just as a human,
Yes.
Yeah.
to receive that
Oh my gosh,
information
totally.
and then be like, okay, but then I'm gonna be in this, and then the whole time you're in that relationship, you're like, this isn't my person. It's almost like,
Yeah,
why are you in
think
the
so. I actually
relationship?
that happened to me
Yeah.
with my ex, and I had a psychic who told me at the time, she was the first person to be like, "Oh no, this guy's not for you." I'm like, "What do you mean? It's perfect. Everyone knows we're amazing. What do you mean?" And I just was in denial the whole time. And then when we did break up, I had another call with her, and she's like, "You're gonna move to America. You're gonna meet this like half like American Indian something," and I was like,
Really?
what? Yeah, Lorraine. Shout out to Lorraine. She like hit the nail on the head. And I was like, no, okay. First of all, I live in Dubai. I'm not going to
Right.
be moving to America, darling. Fast forward 2 months. I was on a business trip here and moved to America. So she really, yeah, I mean,
She was there for
But
you.
that's,
But then in that
is
moment,
more
yeah.
timely, right? Because like you.
but
have
in that moment, I didn't believe her when she said I was not going to be with my ex. In my head, I'm not didn't believe. I was like, I knew it. But then because she told me that, I was like, I didn't want to believe it. I think that I
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to be with someone else.
because it required you to step up
Exactly.
to a different version of you.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
when I finally did, I was like, oh. So then there was more respect. Like, oh my gosh.
But what
like,
if?
you know?
But what if she told you, it's not who you're with, and it's not going to be the next two people that you're with?
Yeah.
Then the
What would
next
you do?
two relationships you enter, like, how do you do
That
that?
I don't have no idea.
Honestly, I would say like
Like, it's just such a mind fuck.
It's
Yeah.
totally-
I'm
it's
not.
totally-
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
at all challenging it.
No,
Like,
Yeah, no,
I
I
just.
get
not
it.
at all.
It's authentic
Again,
curiosity.
Yeah.
Oh my God, totally. And I think in my case, like, because, individuals, like, you see them and they're like in it and they're just like, whoa. Like, so if that was to come to me, I would just be very delicate with it. And I would just say, hey, like, listen, it's not about the person. It's about the experiences
Yes.
you need in order to get to that place where you're finally you're present. You're like
That's a
today
good
you're
Happy with
present.
yourself. Yeah.
The next time you're even more present.
Exactly.
in
Right.
that
It's not
timing.
like, oh, why am I in this relationship?
Yeah.
Why am I wasting my time with this person? Well,
Exactly.
you need this
Totally. You
need it.
experience in order to level up so you can
Yeah.
get to the place where you're with the
Totally.
right person.
And that's the thing is
Okay,
like to your point
okay.
too, like when people say I never like some individuals they don't go all the way too deep.
Yeah.
They keep it surface and light because it protects them.
Or just like
Yeah.
short term.
yeah, they keep it short.
term.
Exactly. Because it protects the reader.
Yeah.
And I don't again, my clients, again, like whoever comes to me is like a direct match to they're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like because like that's an energy exchange
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And so what I'm meaning to say is like I don't like to lick the surface.
Yeah.
Like I want to devour the thing. Like I want to indulge
I
in
love that.
what it is that you're seeking because that's my purpose.
Yeah.
Like I have to do that for you.
Yeah.
And how are you gonna like you sure you're just gonna sit there and lick a lollipop, okay?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna be like, this tastes good. And then I'm gonna be like, girl, like there's other candy that we
Yeah.
can taste too.
Yeah.
And so you're just stuck. That's the ego. You're stuck. Like just like licking that lollipop.
Yep.
And so it's just courage. It's
Yeah.
bravery to say, okay, like this isn't meant for me, but I'm gonna enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like the best relationship that you were able to like know sexual desires and intimacy, or you were able to be courted and you were able to know like what it's like for somebody to
Exactly.
open the door for you.
Right.
You were able to go into a different culture. Like all these things are so beautiful. Let's focus on the gratitude of that journey.
Exactly.
The
And
growth.
then once we're there, we'll be like, wow, like, we've finally
That's how
made
I see
it.
it.
But yeah, I mean, there are people who like, don't want to change. And so we know
sure.
those individuals who,
Change is scary.
oh my gosh, like let's say Natasha, like you stayed in your past relationship, you wouldn't get to this point because
yeah,
you
for
would just be
sure.
like constantly like
Yeah.
That's what I
dragging
say
your
all
feet.
the time. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been the person that I am today. And I'm actually very proud that I'm so open and authentic now. And it's all because of the shit that happened to me.
Yeah.
And so every time something bad happens, I'm like, it's okay.
We were just talking
We were
about
just
this
talking
earlier
about
Yeah,
today.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, so many metaphors. Like, it's the shit that makes the plants grow.
Exactly.
We literally eat shit every day.
Yeah.
Hello, the tree, the apples,
Yeah.
they grow from
It's like
shit.
it's a continuous message that's ongoing within our podcast. It's like every rock bottom moment that you feel is only a way for you to grow.
Yes.
Right. And it's only, I'm
It's
not
an
saying
opportunity.
Yeah.
Because like where if I stopped, and that's the thing is like I'll be honest, like I don't know some of the things that like, and I don't want to know. Like I didn't know I was gonna make it till past 25. And so I was like, I don't even know like what's meant for me.
Yeah.
I
Go
was
straight
about to say
rush.
how freaking awesome you are.
that's
And
so
what
sweet.
it's not just your kindness and your amazingness, but also just how fucking cool you are because
Oh, I
it's like
appreciate
really
that.
authentically you. And so, from someone who's coming from a perspective of looking, I love looking at, like, I paint people's brands in my head.
I love
When
that.
I see someone, I'm like, oh my God, this is their visual, like this is the color scheme, this is like the person. And so for yours, it's like all the keywords I've made notes of is like rebellion, and
I love that.
it's so cool. I just feel like you're just,
Yeah.
I don't know,
I feel like
it's like
you're-
my brain is
I feel
exploding.
like we're having a mirror energy right now.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, like
No, I
explosive.
appreciate that. Well, so, you know, like I am trying to step into that space again. It was very like vulnerable to like open that like entrepreneurialness again. And you know, like what is entrepreneurialness? It's just risk taking.
Yeah.
Like it's like being like, fuck, you know, this and just being like, I'm
Yeah.
doing it for me.
I'm gonna step
know?
off this ledge
Yeah.
and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I've decided that I'm just gonna be authentic and
Yes.
I'm gonna be the creative director, I'm gonna be the psychic, the clairvoyant, etc., and the coach. And you know, it's time for me at this, like I'm in my mid 30s and I'm just like I feel so old in my soul.
Yeah.
But like I have so much to look
Which makes
forward
sense.
to. Yeah. It's just a lot. It's heavy sometimes.
Yeah.
And so now I'm just like I want to you know, build that brand. So you're saying the brand and
It's
that
there. I
reflects
see
to
it.
me, so I
Like,
appreciate that.
it's literally like coming out of you like fireworks
I
to me.
appreciate that because I'm at that place now. I'm like transitioned from, you know, opportunity that I was doing in fragrance, and now I'm just like, what am I leaning more towards, and is it gonna be, you know, helping people? But at the same time, I know I have to do my own thing, and I'm doing it. And it's been like the psychicness has been my constant. It's
Yeah.
been like such a relief for me in that way. It's really rewarding. It's like, you know, they come to me and we do a reading, but it's so much, it's like mutual. Like it's so rewarding for me too, because I get to allow myself to feel real lives.
Yeah.
Because where I thought I didn't have an opportunity to live, I was like, wow, I can live too. And like, I see real examples of love. I see real examples of like amazing, phenomenal individuals. It's kind of like the best reality TV because it's really real. Like it's
Yes.
not scripted. And I'm just like, holy shit. But yeah, but
It's
Yeah.
been really cool since we first met, which was probably a couple years ago at this
yeah.
point. And I do feel like when we first talked about all of this, you weren't hiding it by any means, especially with me. You were an open book, which was so kind. But it didn't seem like it was something that you were actively pursuing. It was just coming to you. And it's going to continue to come to you. And I don't even want to say you're actively pursuing it, but it seems like you've really embraced it and you are taking more of a step in that direction because you're being led towards it.
Yeah, I can't hide it.
Yeah.
Like it just is.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely correct. Like where I'm like, why? So what? Like I'm gonna get criticized. Like I'm gonna be the weirdo. So what? Let me
Exactly.
be the weirdo.
Yeah.
Like let me take that on because, you know, I can. And
Not
so
to mention just the dark places you've been. And thank you for sharing that. Like,
I've never exposed those things, and I think this is an appropriate place. I think if anyone's like listening to that aspect, it's you really have to allow yourself to let that story flow because that story, like I said, it like this was on my manifestation menu, and I'm talking to whoever needed this. I'm also talking in my voice, but I hear my voice all the time.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like exposing that. I'm just cranking up the volume.
yes.
So yeah, I appreciate that because like this is the perfect place for me to do that. And
I'm so glad
it's
you felt
such a beautiful
comfortable to do
merge.
so because
Yeah, thank
you helped both of us. Thank you for letting
I
me
appreciate
ask
that.
just relentless
Oh, I love
questions.
that.
I'm still in that phase of just like wanting
And
to
you should ask
absorb
more
so much
questions.
information and
Honestly,
figure out what it means for me and hear from other people's experiences.
absolutely.
It's all you can do.
Yeah.
Yes, and like you know what it is? It's like the testimonials. Like when they talk to me back, like the clients come back.
Yeah, it's the
Even in
best
creative,
feeling.
like they're like, oh my god, like this photo shoot like was the shit. Like
Wow.
or like, oh my gosh, like this experience of like hiring somebody was amazing.
Yeah.
Like all those things. But when it comes to client specific, when they say, oh my gosh, Andre, you were totally right. It doesn't say like, oh my God, look at me, I'm right.
Yeah.
It goes like, I'm so glad I was able to connect you to your truth. And now
Yes.
you're living that truth.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's not like I
Yeah.
told you so.
Oh
It's
my
like, oh, I'm
gosh.
just so glad that I was able to
Absolutely.
deliver.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
Like, of course, like with even people that I know, like that's the one thing is like we were talking about earlier, like when you don't do readings for individuals, but as a child, I was technically reading everyone. So like it wasn't so I want to preface this by like it wasn't an impression only for me. I was giving them solid advice as a child.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's like when I needed someone, I was still the provider. So like even as an adult looking into my child self, yes, I'm the adult that I needed, but I was also the adult they needed.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like sometimes don't know like what's really me, like what's like my age and what is actually just like this container. And so it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And so like and I'm like, yeah, it is what it is, but I'd rather be me than
Yeah.
something that's not me.
Yeah.
So yeah. But
There's so
yeah.
much unknown in this work, especially being a messenger in the space, because we don't know what we don't know. And all you know is what you've experienced and the validation you've received from your clients and being able to help them. But we still don't know how it works.
Yeah.
We still don't know
Yeah.
if it's, I mean, I could, go on a whole other
Yeah.
podcast topic episode right now, but there's just so much uncertainty and unknown. And so I think that's all you can really do is just,
embrace it.
yeah.
It's amazing. Like sometimes you just gotta walk through it.
Yeah.
And like say it's dark and that's okay.
Yeah.
But like so many people will come and surprise you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I look forward to is the little checkpoints, the the collection of stars like that illuminate the night. But I think that's really fun for me. Like I
Yeah.
just get to collect those stories and archive them.
Yeah.
I don't like hold on to them as much anymore. They're just a part of me.
Yeah.
And that's why I could talk about things freely and it's okay because it's my story. It's my truth.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to guilt anyone.
No,
know?
not trying to guilt, not trying to convince. You're just living
Yeah.
in what your truth is, letting whoever comes to you organically.
Absolutely.
Like I have a lot of respect for the way you are using this.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you
I try.
again, just answering all my weird questions.
Yeah.
I have one last
try.
question. You help everyone. What about you? I ask every entrepreneur this, like, what is your biggest ask?
Yeah. How can others help you?
How can others help me? Wow, that's pretty vulnerable. I would say just ask.
Yeah.
I think like some people just don't ask.
They don't ask
Yeah.
enough. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I make it a point right now to be like,
Yeah.
how can I help? And I
Yeah.
mean it. Like,
Right.
what?
That's so
how can
sweet.
people help?
And like that's the thing is like as a clairvoyant, it's like I could see things. So it's like how can I help is a loaded question, but I just think being present. Like I'm so happy that you guys already helped me. Like I'm here. So and it's definitely new for me because
to share
I'm
yourself
super
like this.
exclusive. Like I'm not somebody that's on social media projecting my clairvoyance.
Right.
It's just recently that I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna step up to the game. But like I'm not someone that you can search like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I prefer it. I think my clients prefer it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's time to like let that ego go and be more available.
Yeah.
Because I think that's helpful. Like
I think
like,
it's
how
not
do
the
I become
opposite
more
of
eligible?
ego. It's almost like, I don't know if that's ego, but maybe letting like that block go. Because if
Yeah,
anything,
I
ego
do feel
would
like
be
it's-
like screing out loud about what you can do.
Yeah.
It's like,
Totally. And that's the thing is like so many of my friends that are dear, they're always like, Andre, like, like people, you need this. Like people need you. You need to
Yeah,
do more.
exactly.
And I'm like, I'm just trying to have my own human experience. But at the same time, I'm like, no, you're right. And I think this is why it's helpful. Like, because now I get to express this and make it. And I hope that like other people understand that it's not abnormal. It's just my life, but it's other people's lives too.
Yeah.
Melinda, you're
Yeah.
here. Honestly, Natasha too. Like we're all in it together.
Yeah.
And just because like, you're intuitive and you're not of service doesn't mean that you're lacking.
No,
I'm
gosh, no.
just like
Yeah.
here because mine's that's my purpose.
Yes,
as
and
well
we
as,
all
like,
have a different one.
creation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I think it's a little challenging in this space right now where I want to have fun with it. Like I definitely want to brand it, like what you were saying, Natasha, like
So
brand
excited.
it in that way that's like it's palatable and like obviously fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my next step. But at the same time, like, you know, I still do a lot of creative direction. And I think like another time, maybe like more on that, where it's like meeting my bosses
Yeah.
and like helping them with their goals, but like what I know
Yeah.
versus like they don't know,
Yes.
Yeah.
you know?
That's a great way of putting it. Is I feel like I should use that as a response when people are like, what's going on with your clairvoyant shit? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I'm just like digesting right now.
Yeah.
I'm figuring out how to use it towards my like, I don't know if my purpose is reading people. Like my purpose might just be using that clairvoyant ability to interview people. Like to have a podcast like this where I can
Yeah.
pull it out of people and
Why
continue.
not?
But I'm
Yeah.
like trusting that I'll figure that out over time. And I'm just not like,
Maybe you just need to
Digging.
trust yourself now.
exactly
The most.
Yeah. But I think that's a really good way of putting it. It's
Yeah.
just because for anyone out there who does experience clairvoyance or any sort of psychic experiences, just because you're experiencing that doesn't pigeonhole you into
no.
like being a certain kind of
Absolutely.
true.
profession or certain
Absolutely.
kind
You can
of
use it for everything.
Absolutely.
Anything in your
Absolutely.
life.
You can use it for your own self,
Yeah.
like in the sense of like, you know, how like that person you like, you know, how that boat rocks. Is it going to shake you up? Is it, you know, going to sink you, etc. But I think it just depends. Like, just take the sail and see what develops. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
it'll show
limitless.
itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely,
Like
it
it kind of
will.
always does. Before I even entered any of the spirituality world, I just always said like the universe always just puts it in my lap. Like I felt so blessed because I would like freak out and then like that job or that next step, it landed in my lap. And I'm like, just need to trust that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really interesting. But yeah, I think
You
it's
are
been
so
exciting.
interesting.
Yes,
I
you really
appreciate
are. I feel
This
like this
is-
has been our longest podcast.
This is our longest. This is our
so funny.
longest episode, and it's well worth it. And I'm
That's so
just
sweet.
so grateful again for you being vulnerable. I'm so excited for you that you're
Yeah. I
entering
think so
this
too.
new
I think it's
stage.
time to like pop the lid and like let people taste
Yeah.
something that is actually delicious
Hell yeah.
and doesn't just
so
smell
excited
good.
for you.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really fun.
On that note, and I'm not sure if you want to share this or not, so up to you, but do you want us to direct our viewers and listeners to you? Is there somewhere
why
they can
not?
find
I think
you?
that's pretty vulnerable, right?
Yeah,
and
for
that's the
sure.
whole thing. I'm actually starting, I just put through that I'm going to hopefully by October bring my other website into formation.
Okay.
So it's going to be called andresark.com.
Okay.
And so that's going to be the landing page of like trying to reach out to me because like my phone does blow up.
Yeah.
And so I can't really
Have
keep
like
up.
an actual scheduling.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
and so like
perfect.
perhaps like, you know, reaching out through email or through a Calendly. Is it called Calendly? I don't know. Like a
Calendar. I know it's when
Yeah.
there's a Calendly or,
Or what
whatever.
about Instagram? Is that good for you or
But
no?
Instagram right now is great. That's another thing too. Like my Instagram is private and it's nice in that way. But
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna start having to like really open up that as well. But my Instagram is Andre the Creator.
Such a good
and
name.
Yeah, I even asked like ChatGPT the other day. I was like, okay, like what do you guys think about my Instagram? And it was pretty like okay. I was like, okay, like that's not bad. It has like, you know, like it has
love
like the
ChatGPT.
spiritual, yeah, it has the
Yeah.
spirituality, but it has
Yeah,
the fashion. It
exactly.
has,
I
like,
love
the
your
creative.
stories.
Andre the Creator
Everything
is
you post.
beautiful.
Yeah, we're
Everything
all
you post in your
creators.
stories hits hard with me.
Oh, I
and
really
I've
appreciate that.
screenshotted some of them that you share,
Oh, I
even
love
for us
that.
to reshare.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that I could, you know, just make it not feel intimidating and not superficial and not superstitious.
No, none of those things are you from what
Yeah.
I've
I haven't
met.
thought
So
that.
No,
and
I'm
you're
really
so
excited.
authentic. So none of that
I
will
appreciate
be.
that. Yeah, it took a long time to get to this place. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what comes. But yeah, I'm ready
Yeah.
for that.
The
I've
world.
been
I think the
ready.
world is ready. Like
Yeah, the world
every
hasn't
guest
seen
we've
anything
had on
like
is
you.
open to this. It ends
Oh,
up
yeah.
being part of all
That's
of
so
our
sweet, yeah.
conversations, and it's
Yeah.
great to have people like you. And what I'm trying to do with it too, whatever it becomes, is I guess in a lack of a better way of saying it is like make it more mainstream, like make it more accessible
Yes.
and less like woo woo and scary.
Absolutely.
Like let's
Absolutely.
destigmatize it and like we don't know
Absolutely.
what we don't know. Not trying to convince anyone,
Yes.
but let's have conversations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see
have
how it can help
conversation.
us.
And that
or
I'm the
not.
first person to like make fun of things too.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, you know, like everyone's like, oh, you're burning sage and doing this. I'm like, yeah, this wobble shit, me too. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Or it's like the crystals. Like, you know, I make fun because I want to make it light.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
don't want it to feel like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
you know, like all the crystals, like my life is meaningless without crystals.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I
Yeah.
have to get the biggest one. And like, I feel like it's not like that.
Well,
at
and
all.
again, like we don't know what we don't know.
And
Exactly.
yeah,
So-
it all comes down to, and if anyone, it all comes down to your breath.
Yeah.
Because right now we've been breathing, but if you really focus on your breath, then you're focusing on yourself. And so when you focus on yourself, then you're able to illuminate what is coming for you or where you are right now.
Breath work is so powerful.
Should we
So,
just
yeah.
take a breath to end this? Do
Yeah.
you want to lead
Yes.
the breath?
Let's do it. Well, we can
Just
all just
one
do it.
deep breath.
One deep
I
breath.
mean,
Okay, I'm down.
all right,
So
ready?
let's do it.
1, 2, 3. Nothing like that to center yourself. Thank you, Andre.
Thank you.
Appreciate
I
you.
appreciate everyone.
On that greasy hair day.
On that greasy hair day note, I'm so
The outro.
so grateful for Andre and for this episode. Like I told you, he was just so open to helping me when I was first learning about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so open as an individual as well. Like not only giving, but also so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you don't find that in a lot of people.
Definitely not. His energy is unmatched.
Yeah. And so I had so many questions that I was so excited to answer or ask him. Like, as you could tell, I was just like, wait, I want to know more. Like, tell me more. I just wanted to hear his point of view and his experience with things. Cause you know, he's been doing it for a long time. And a lot of the things he says, I really like resonate with. And like, I'm like, yeah, I respect that point of view. Yeah. But it's just more than anything, it's just so interesting to hear everyone's experience with it.
Yeah.
You keep like,
I know, because it keeps flopping up. I don't know what I'll just move here. Yeah. There we go.
well, now you're facing away
Yeah,
from
that's
me.
why I'm like,
The challenges.
you know what? The challenges. Here we go. Am I still in the shot? No. Oh. Here we go. Now? Yeah. Okay, cool. See, we made it work. Solved an entrepreneur problem.
Yeah, so that was just such a fun episode. And what a sweet baby angel bringing us gifts.
I know.
I'm like, no, like you are gracing us with your presence and like
cute.
coming out to be on this podcast. Like you don't need to be giving us gifts, but that was so sweet and thoughtful.
And so on brand.
And so on brand.
So
the
on
gratitude
brand.
journal, which I'm
Yeah.
actually going to start using
Yes,
immediately
yes.
because I've been off my game with journaling for
Yeah.
a while now. So I told him, I'm like, this is a sign.
Oh, that's what you, okay, nice.
Yeah.
No, this was such a great episode, and it was a very long one because we got into so many details, and we could have gone even longer.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have like part 3, part 4, part 5 with him. I actually really want to do a reading with him.
You should.
And I would love to. I'm going to reach out to him. I just didn't know, like, you know, sometimes it's inappropriate to ask, but I guess it's,
Put him on the spot or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
like-
shoot him a message,
yeah.
I guess.
And I guess it's a good thing for me to bring it up so that you guys know. I'm going to reach out. You can reach out too.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
see how it goes.
Well, that'll be when you do,
Mm-hmm.
if and when you do, then we can talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh my gosh, how exciting.
That'll be a really exciting, like, catch
I
up.
almost want to be like, should we call him now on loudspeaker and be like, hey, we're recording. Do you want us to? I would love to do a reading with you. Would you be able to do it? Well, no, he'll do it.
He'll
but
probably say
yeah,
yes.
that's true.
I think he'll say yes.
I hope you say yes. Okay.
If it feels right and you're supposed to do it and he feels right,
Yeah.
and, you know, then I'm sure.
Okay.
So if and when that happens, we got to hear an update. So bring
Oh,
it back
for
to
sure.
us.
Because I've also taken a little breather from a lot of clairvoyance in my life.
we
I've
both
actually,
have been kind of taking a step back.
And it's weird because we didn't plan to do it. It just like organically happened in
for
our
both of
lives where
us.
we were like,
Seeking
not
too much
feeling it.
external information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it clouds your judgment and you don't know what's the right answer and what isn't. But I think Andre really cleared that up in our episode today where he went, it was very obvious. You know what the green flags are. You know what the red flags are. Your tummy will tell you. Your gut will tell you when something's off.
Yeah.
And I've always known when it's off. But then you just keep going.
Yeah.
And you keep going.
Well, and you question yourself. And I get it.
Yeah.
But yes, keep us updated and bring
I
it
will.
back.
I will.
Well,
I'm excited.
We hope that you love this one,
Yes.
and we'll see you on the next one.
See you.
Bye.